We are going to be discussing the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC and the least well-rounded fighters in the UFC. And we are going to be emphasizing well-rounded in mixed martial arts, specifically in the UFC, the big leagues. So I don't care if fighters have credentials in jiu-jitsu or wrestling, and I don't care if, well, here I saw them training in the gym and here's some footage of Alex Pereira doing some grappling with Glover to share, man. This is about how they stack up against fighters in the UFC and the octagon. And that's it. We're only using their fights in the UFC as evidence, not their training, not their accolades in other sports. You get the point. The tiers, we've got a lot of tiers. The first tier, elite, striker and grappler, okay? These are the most well-rounded fighters, and they have to be elite on the feet and on the ground. Then we have well-rounded, where you can be elite in one of those areas, but you got to be good, close to great in the other. We then have B- well-rounded, which is just, maybe you're not elite on the feet or on the ground, but you're good in both. We then have the has a few tricks up their sleeve well-rounded fighters, and that could apply to a predominant striker that every now and then has the ability to snatch up a submission. Think about like a Kevin Holland, for example. We then have a can shoot a takedown once every few years kind of fighter, like Yuri Prohaska getting a takedown on Pereira. Like, okay, they have the ability if they absolutely need it. They're not oblivious to that. We then have mid-well-rounded, which are fighters that are not great anywhere but average everywhere. We then have the we don't know tier, which are fighters that maybe haven't been in the UFC long enough for us to truly know where they stack up. Then we get to the extremely one-dimensional tiers. We have the fighters that are good in one area, bad in the other, but not absolutely cooked in the other. And then we have fighters that are totally cooked in one realm of the fight game, where it's like, okay, they're basically on the verge of getting finished every single second it's on the ground, or it's on the feet if they are a predominant grappler and they're not good on the feet. Those are the tiers. That's right, guys, we're making a Mango Lassi movie, and it is underway. Filming has started. We'll see. It's gonna take a while to film, but at the moment I'm looking for copyright-free Indian background music. But we also have the Mango Lassi in the Real Food Cookbook. If you guys are interested in comfort foods from around the world made with whole and unprocessed ingredients so that you can eat tasty meals while trying to get in shape, then you can check out the Real Food Cookbook. The link is in the description. Make sure to use code MMA for 30% off. Let's start ranking these fighters just in the highlight Gagey. I'm going to put Gagey in the one-dimensional AF tier, okay? I'm saying Justin Gagey is pretty cooked on the ground. I mean, when you're getting put into an inverted triangle against Rafael Fiziev as soon as the fight hits the mat, and Rafael Fiziev is kind of a one-dimensional fighter as well. Like, listen, Fiziev is pretty well-rounded. We'll actually rank him, but he's no Oliveira on the ground. He's no Makhachev on the ground. If Fiziev is almost finishing you with a triangle as soon as it hits the mat, you're pretty cooked on the ground, okay? The speed at which Khabib and Oliveira were able to get him out of there as soon as the fights hit the ground was pretty unbelievable. It was, it was as if they had taken down Rod Tang when Demetrius Johnson took down Rod Tang. It's like when DJ fought Rod Tang in ONE FC, as soon as it hit the mat, it was over. That's kind of what it's like when Justin Gagey is fighting other elite fighters. And again, yes, compared to your average Joe at the average dojo, Justin Gagey's going to be able to put up a good scramble on the ground. If you bring Justin Gagey to a regular jiu-jitsu gym, he's probably one of the best in the gym. We're comparing him to the best UFC fighters in the world. We're talking about what he's been able to prove or what he hasn't been able to in the UFC. And what have we seen in the UFC? He gets absolutely steamrolled when fights hit the mat. Next up, we have Conor McGregor. We have Conor, I don't know why I just said McGregor in like a Scouse type of accent, but I got to say Conor McGregor is not well-rounded at all. He's actually very one-dimensional. He is bad on the ground, okay? And he's not totally cooked on the ground, though. So the way that I would describe McGregor is, obviously, we're talking about, let's say, like a decent version of McGregor, the McGregor that fought Poirier, the McGregor that fought Khabib. McGregor had okay takedown defense, but when it came to his actual grappling, like when you're getting 10-8'd on the ground damn near by Dustin Poirier, you're not a well-rounded fighter. I'm sorry. Dustin Poirier is a pretty good grappler, but Dustin Poirier is like a guy that I would put in the has a few tricks up his sleeve tier. Like he's got submissions. He submitted Michael Chandler. He's, been able to out-grapple people like Anthony Pettis and Conor McGregor. He's a pretty good grappler, but he's not someone that I would even put in the well-rounded tier where it's like Dustin Poirier, yeah, you got to worry about him taking you down, right? We've seen him get out-grappled by people like Benoit Saint-Denis and other, decent grapplers. But Conor McGregor, he is not Justin Gaethje level of cooked. Like, Conor McGregor is not at that level. But if you are a striker with a few tricks up his sleeve on the ground, you can take Conor down and out-grapple him and sort of beat him up. Okay? And some people are going to say, what are you saying, man? Conor McGregor out-grappled Max Holloway, dude, and Max Holloway's got brick wall takedown. Yeah, okay, we're talking about, like, Holloway in his third ever UFC fight. Tadpole Holloway. That's McGregor's claim to fame. This guy got absolutely steamrolled by Chad Mendes on the ground. Yes, he finished him, but the point is, McGregor, one-dimensional. I am going to say this is actually tough. This is actually tough because Yair Rodriguez is kind of cooked on the ground, but he did submit Josh Emmett. Like, he did fuck up Josh Emmett on the ground and submit him. And he has shown that he can be kind of scrambly off of his back and, like, sort of hurt people with elbows. Has, like, a Tony Ferguson kind of guard game sometimes. But he's only really shown us that once. So I'm going to put him in the good in one area, not always cooked. Like, listen. When we're saying Yair's cooked on the ground, against who? Volk? Ortega? Come on. Like, Max Holloway? Okay, I see what you're saying. But Holloway didn't finish him. Volk didn't finish him in the first, second round. So I'm going to say he's in that Conor tier. He can get taken down and he can get bullied around by people that even just have a few tricks up their sleeve, right? Like Holloway. Let's get on to the next one. Shamil Gaziev. I'm going to say Shamil Gaziev has a few tricks up his sleeve grappling. Like, listen, he's obviously a KO artist, but he has a volleyball background. And that obviously gives him the ability to leap and lunge into takedowns. We saw it against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He was able to take Rozenstruik down in the first round. Very impressive stuff. Let's get on to Bryce Mitchell. I'm putting Bryce Mitchell in the good in one area, but bad in the other, but not always cooked here, okay? Bryce Mitchell is not a good striker. He is a great grappler, but he's not totally cooked on the feet. Like, we've seen him drop Edson Barboza. We've seen him survive against Dan Ige. Like, he's never going to win striking battles against, like, the majority of people he faces because he's not good on the feet. But he's not just totally cooked. If he was one of these guys that was totally cooked on the feet, he would have gotten KO'd by Gene Silva in the first round. Okay? Like, he can do his thing. He can land his oblique kicks. He can land his front kicks. But he's not a good striker. I'm going to say he's one-dimensional, but not, like, absolutely cooked on the feet. Because, yeah, he'll get dropped every now and then. Most of the time get outstruck. But, he can sort of bide his time, right? Alex Pereira. Dude, I know that some people aren't going to like this because I've actually said that Pereira is underrated with his grappling, his survivability. Either way, I'm going to say Pereira's kind of cooked on the ground. Like, dude, I'm sorry, but Pereira's just not fighting good grapplers. Jan Blachowicz was the best grappler, and it was at altitude after round one. Blachowicz came crashing down big time. But Blachowicz is not even really known for having great grappling. Like, Blachowicz is known for having okay grappling. Okay. And if you have okay grappling, you're almost getting Pereira out of there. But you know what? I think we should look at these guys in their divisions. So, like, we'll treat them as if the only division that exists on the planet is their division. I'm gonna say Pereira's not totally cooked, but he's he's kind of fucked. Like, Pereira can't do shit. You know what I mean? Pereira, okay, listen. Pereira can't get up to his feet. Have we ever seen him get up to his feet when Yuri has taken him down or when Blachowicz took him down? Pereira never actually got up. It's just that he doesn't get finished like Justin Gaethje. I'm fucking saying he's one-dimensional as fuck, okay? Like, listen, takedown defense matters. Pereira has okay takedown defense, but I'm talking about jiu-jitsu, ground and pound, dude. Pereira is never going to be a good offensive grappler. It's also offensive. It's not just defensive, okay? At least Bryce Mitchell can drop someone like Edson Barboza. Has Pereira ever done the equivalent of that on the ground? Has he ever thrown up a flying armbar? No, dude, never. So, yeah, I'm going to put him in the cook tier, but he's not just going to get finished every time, you know, but he's going to get, like, held down there and beat up. Corey Sandhagen. I'm going to say Sandhagen's well-rounded. Sandhagen is a very well-rounded fighter. We know he's a great striker. And on the ground, I mean, listen, he was able to, with a torn tricep, take down Rob Font every single round and keep him there, which is pretty good, shows good control. He beat up Deiveson Figueiredo, who is a little bit mentally checked out these days, but either way, Deiveson Figueiredo is no slouch on the ground, and Corey Sandhagen beat the shit out of him. We've also seen him take down Song Yadong and beat him up a little bit. We've seen him beat up Marlon Vera. He got that inverted triangle on TJ Dillashaw. Like, he's a well-rounded fighter. There's no doubt about that. Is he an elite grappler? I don't know if I would consider him elite, but he's a good grappler with pretty great striking. Volk is the first guy that's going to be in the elite striker, elite grappler tier. Now, listen, you may say, well, like Corey Sandhagen, Volk hasn't been able to finish many people on the ground. But I think Volk is a little bit more dominant on the ground, and I also am taking into account defensive grappling. Like, I think Volk is maybe slightly better than Corey offensively, but much better defensively. And, you know, that counts as well. So Volk, we know on the feet, one of the best strikers in UFC history. I don't need to explain that. But when it comes to his grappling defensively, amazing takedown defense, all the specifics in the world. Volk is going to have all the little nooks and crannies figured out when it comes to the grappling. And offensively, I mean, look at what he did to Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega is a dangerous elite grappler. Volkanovski got the better of Ortega in their fight on the ground. Like, if you were to tally up all the minutes that they had on the ground, probably like 6 minutes in total. Ortega has 40 seconds of that with submission attempts. The other 5 minutes and 20 seconds, Volkanovski pummeling Ortega into the ground, almost finishing him multiple times, 10-8ing him. Like, I think Volk kind of wins that exchange. Obviously, we know that Volk is not only able to cook a steak, but he can cook a mean tuna as well. Taking down Yair Rodriguez, beating him up on the ground. We've also seen Volkanovski finish people back in the day. Like, early on in his career, he was a finisher on the ground. I know those were against cans, but still, yeah, Volkanovski, I would say elite defensively on the ground, good offensively, right? Good wrestling, but not elite offensively, but good offensively, and elite on the feet. So I think that would make him an elite grappler. Listen, in order to be an elite grappler, you don't necessarily need to be elite defensively and elite offensively. You need to be elite in one of those areas and good in the other. Charles Oliveira, I'm going to say well-rounded, very well-rounded. Okay, now again, just because he's not in the elite tier does not necessarily mean Oliveira is not an elite fighter. I'm just talking about, is he an elite striker? I don't think I consider an Oliveira an elite striker. Like, sure, if you have him fight the majority of people outside of the top 10, people that are good strikers, like, he can KO them. I mean, 100%. But in order to be an elite striker and an elite grappler, you have to be elite against the elite everywhere, okay? He's been outstruck by Arman Tsarukyan with the simpleton's jab, okay? Against Islam Makhachev, he was kind of schooled on the feet. Against Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, I know he dropped Justin Gaethje, I get that, but he was getting fucked up, okay? Ilia Topuria fucking him up. And I know that's Ilia Topuria, but when we get to names like Arman Tsarukyan, you're getting outstruck there. Arman Tsarukyan's a well-rounded fighter. He's a good striker, just like Oliveira, but I don't think he's elite. So that's kind of the point that I'm making. Obviously, on the ground, Oliveira is elite. Very elite on the ground, one of the best grapplers of all time. But a good striker, very dangerous, but there are lots of problems in his striking. Whereas a guy like Volk, I know Volk isn't offensively the same kind of monster that Oliveira is on the ground, but he's good offensively, elite defensively. And I think when you look at Volk's entire grappling game, technically and what he's been able to do and what he's been able to stop people from doing to him, you say, okay, that guy's elite on the ground. Same with his striking. Oliveira, you say, okay, he's elite on the ground. I don't think you could say that about his game on the feet. Ryan Hall, cooked on the feet, absolutely cooked. Someone with a couple of years of rusty kickboxing would feel like Mike Tyson in front of Ryan Hall. And I know Ryan Hall would have his spinning kicks, and Joe Rogan would be saying, you got to stay clear of the spinning wheel kicks, man. Woohoo! Those spinning wheel kicks are pretty fresh. He is no slouch on the feet either. He's got a wicked karate game. Nope. I'm basically feeling like Mike Tyson in front of this guy. Okay? I'm feeling pretty confident in front of Ryan Hall. A lot more confident than I would feel trying to grapple against Justin Gaethje, to be honest. Like, I'll be honest, Justin Gaethje is out-grappling me and submitting me. Ryan Hall, I think someone who is somebody that's only got a couple of years of rusty kickboxing, like me and Ryan Hall, you could promote it as like the Thrilla in Manila. You could promote it like Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. But yeah, you know what? I don't know if we could. I think I would be a little bit too good on the feet. I think I'd be a little bit too much on the feet. You know, I actually take that back. I think I would school Ryan Hall on the feet. Just pure athleticism, speed, and rusty kickboxing techniques. So, yeah. Where are we going to put Benoit Saint-Denis? I'm going to say he's B- well-rounded. Benoit Saint-Denis, is he an elite striker? No. Is he a good striker? Yes. Very dangerous on the feet. Heavy pressure. Brutal elbows, man. Nah. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm going to put Benoit Saint-Denis in the has a few tricks up his sleeve tier. I think he's a good grappler. Is his striking good? Not really, but he's got a few tricks up his sleeve on the feet. He's got the body kick. He hits hard. He's, someone with a few tricks up their sleeve. Predominant grappler, but again, kind of a marauder on the feet. Can be dangerous. Arman Tsarukyan. I'm going to put Arman in the same tier as Oliveira. He's got elite grappling, but I wouldn't say he's an elite striker. He's a good striker, okay? And he can compete at the highest level, and he can, do okay on the feet. He's got great kicks. Okay, does he have great boxing? I don't think his boxing is that great, but his kicking game is pretty good, pretty solid. Overall, a good striker. He does have the ability to go out and outstrike people on the feet, just not the best strikers in his division. And of course, we know that his grappling is just relentless. He's got some of the best ground and pound in MMA, phenomenal wrestling, good control. Again, good kicking game. He's very well-rounded, but he's not elite on the feet, okay? Mateusz Gamrot, I would say Gamrot is someone that I would also put him in the has a few tricks up their sleeve tier. I think he's got pretty good grappling, good wrestling. To be fair, we don't really see Gamrot submit people. And we don't really see a whole lot of Gamrot ground and pound. So it's a whole lot of smudge. It's a whole lot of takedowns, but it's heavy pressure wrestling, man. I can understand that. As far as what he's got going on the feet, he can catch you off guard with a right hand. I've seen Mateusz Gamrot spin Rafael Fiziv's head back like 5 times in one round with a solid right hand. He's got a couple of crafty techniques on the feet, but he's not a great striker, right? He's someone that is going to beat you with his wrestling. But, I don't even know if I would consider Gamrot an elite. Well, I would say he's a great grappler, but would I put him up there with the best grapplers in the world? Like, I don't even think I consider Gamrot top 20 grapplers in the UFC. I think he's maybe top 25. Maybe he's at the number 22 spot. But, he's a predominant grappler with a couple of tricks on the feet. I'm going to put Michael Chiesa in the one-dimensional as fuck tier. If he's in there with any decent striker, he's getting laid out cold. Okay, and he's just really a grappler for the most part. So he's sort of perfect for the one-dimensional as fuck tier. Cejudo. Henry Cejudo in mixed martial arts. Do I put him in the has a few tricks up his sleeve with the wrestling tier? Now, this is the thing. This is why Henry Cejudo is an exciting fighter to talk about in this conversation. In the UFC, who has Henry Cejudo ever really taken down and beat up on the ground? And no, I don't really count completely gassed out Marlon Moraes, who was already beaten down and starting to wilt, damn near dropped, as a great example of that, right? The last person Henry Cejudo was actually just taken down from point A to point B and been able to keep down and control was like in his early flyweight run. But for the most part, he's been a I'm going to say B minus well-rounded. Henry Cejudo, I don't really consider him that well-rounded, to be honest. I think that you have to give him a little bit more credit than some of these guys that have a few tricks up their sleeve. Like, Cejudo's got some really incredible takedowns, but he's also, of course, got good takedown defense. But it's just, where are the submissions? Where's the control time? Where's the moments of out-grappling people? They're few and far in between. Henry Cejudo, for the most part, is a striker in mixed martial arts. Take away everything that you know about Henry Cejudo before the UFC. Just look at his UFC career. He's not really out-grappling people. Like, he's a striker. He is a karate stance striker with pretty good hands. I think he's got great striking. I think Cejudo's striking is actually pretty good. And there was a time where I was saying he was really just a gritster, where he would bite down on the mouthpiece and just throw right hand after right hand after right hand, right hand. But in his last outing, I actually think that may have been the best Henry Cejudo's ever looked on the feet. And I'm talking about that fight he had with Song Yudong. The oldest version of Henry Cejudo that's ever been in the octagon, in my opinion, had the best striking he's ever looked to have had. I hate to say this, but he kind of reminds me of Max Holloway with how he's been implementing his wrestling. I mean, listen, Holloway, great takedown defense, right? We've seen Holloway take down Yair Rodriguez, and we've seen him beat him up. We've seen Holloway get a couple of submissions in his UFC career as well. But I'm not going to say Max Holloway is like in the well-rounded tier where he's doing enough grappling and MMA for me to really put him up there with guys like Sandhagen, who mixes in takedowns all the time. I say Max Holloway and Cejudo grapple about the same amount. So I don't care if Cejudo's got an Olympic gold medal from wrestling. What's he actually done in the UFC? Not a whole lot of grappling, to be honest. Like, don't get me wrong. I consider him well-rounded, which is why he's in the B-minus tier. Like, at the end of the day, I will say, okay, Cejudo's a well-rounded fighter. But, there's different levels to it. Let's get on to Aljamain Sterling. You know what? This might be a controversial one. I think Aljamain Sterling strikes just as much as he grapples, kinda. I mean, listen, he was in there with Petr Yan in the first round of their first ever fight. He was overwhelming Yan with volume before he got dropped in the first round. We've seen him take a round off of Yan in the striking in the rematch as well. We actually saw Aljamain Sterling outstrike Henry Cejudo on the feet, which is really impressive. Aljamain Sterling schooled Pedro Munoz on the feet, and at first glance, because Aljo got knocked out by a killer in Sean O'Malley, because he was getting dropped and sort of outdone on the feet by a killer in Petr Yan, people just assume Aljamain Sterling's striking sucks. Now, he's definitely not a top 5 striker in the bantamweight division, but, I mean, listen, you got to have decent striking to be a bantamweight champion. Aljamain Sterling's striking is actually used quite a lot. Like, he implements it pretty often. He's got a really versatile kicking game. He doesn't have a great boxing game, but he's sort of like Armani. He has a really good kicking game. He's not very dangerous on the feet, but you know what? Aljamain Sterling has struck enough and outstruck people and been able to hang in there here and there with his striking enough for me to put him in the well-rounded tier. We know he's an elite grappler. We know he's got phenomenal jiu-jitsu. He's got great wrestling, but, outstriking Henry Cejudo and using that for 5 rounds pretty much, taking the first round off of O'Malley in the striking. I mean, you can't be an absolute bum and do that. Again, this is not talking about, is Aljamain like that good with his striking? No, I think that Sandhagen's a much better striker, right? I think that even Oliveira is a better striker. But either way, I think why people sort of underestimate Aljo's striking is because he's a bantamweight. So first off, he doesn't hit that hard. And if you're not cracking hard as a bantamweight and you've got like pillow hands and pillow kicks, there aren't moments where Aljo's like dropping people, right? So you kind of forget about the moments where he's actually outstriking people tit for tat. But they're there. There's a whole lot of them. Aljo uses his striking a lot more than Cejudo uses his grappling. So yeah, Sean O'Malley, he's one-dimensional. You're not going to see Sean O'Malley offensively grapple, right? Defensively, most people that Sean O'Malley is fighting are going to be able to out-grapple him and keep him on the ground and beat him up a little bit. Like, is Chito Vera going to be able to do that? Not necessarily, but Yan was taking this guy down at will, beating him up on the ground here and there. Against Aljamain Sterling, I mean, listen, Aljo only shot 2 takedowns, but we know Aljamain Sterling, if he gets O'Malley down, is going to keep him there, control him. Merab dominates O'Malley on the ground. O'Malley is someone that I would think could get held down by Corey Sandhagen. So I think O'Malley's one of those guys where if you do take him down, you can keep him there. You can control him. Is he totally cooked? No. Like, he's got good enough jiu-jitsu to hang in there, right? He's not just going to get finished instantly. He's got pretty decent jiu-jitsu. He's been training jiu-jitsu for a while. But ultimately, that is his weakness. That is his weakness compared to the top 10 bantamweights on the planet. Yes, I know if O'Malley were to be competing in Bellator, he would probably have 5 submissions in Bellator. He'd be submitting people off of his back, but in the UFC, that's his weakness. That's where he gets beat. And he's not doing anything offensively in the grappling for me to sit there and say, yeah, O'Malley's a really well-rounded fighter. Petr Yan. I'm going to put Petr Yan in the elite striker and elite grappler tier. Now, this is the thing. Some people are going to roll their eyes, but think about it like this. As far as striking goes, Yan is elite. Elite boxing, elite kicking game, flying knees, spinning wheel kicks. He has it all on the feet, right? Really good clinch striking too. Think about Petr Yan's arsenal when it comes to takedowns. Osotogari trips, right? Tie sweeps. Look at all the times he had taken down Aljamain Sterling with those crafty tie sweeps, catching kicks and sweeping him off of his feet. Think about the double legs he was hitting on Song Yadong. Quick, athletic double legs. He's got single legs. He's got double legs. He's got some of the best technical takedowns in the UFC. Like, he has really skillful takedowns. Takedown defense against Song, against Aljo, stuffing 20 out of 22 takedowns, even in their rematch where Aljo took him down a couple of times, right? Defensively, he didn't get submitted. We've never seen Yan get submitted on the ground, right? So defensively, stuffing, what was it, like 39 takedowns against Merab out of 49? He has some of the best takedown defense in MMA. Really technical takedown defense. He has good submission defense. We've never seen him get submitted. He has some of the most technical takedowns and actually implements them pretty often. Look at the last fight he had with McGee. He was able to control McGee up against the fence and actually take him down in that round as well and win with the grappling. Okay, it was boring, but he was able to win there. Yan has also shown the ability to hold people down like Aljamain Sterling. People forget, man, this is a big people forget moment. Round 4, the rematch against Aljo, where everyone remembers Aljo taking Yan's back. Rounds 4, Petr Yan actually controlled Aljo on the ground when Aljo was on his back, and Yan controlled him in round 4. He then outgrappled him in round 5. So Petr Yan offensively controlling Aljo, keeping him down, beating up Sean O'Malley, taking down Song Yadong, controlling him, keeping him on the ground. He's had a couple of ground and pound TKOs back in the day. Listen, just because this guy's getting outgrappled by Aljo in 2 moments, he also had a shitload of moments where he was outgrappling Aljo. And just because he got controlled by Merab, okay, and outgrappled, he didn't get controlled by Merab. He just got taken down by Merab. So it's because Merab 50-45'd him and because Aljo took his back, people are going to say, no, he's not an elite grappler. But when you consider Aljo an elite grappler and consider the fact that Yan outgrappled him in many moments, and then also consider the fact that the only other guy to outgrapple him was Merab, who he stuffed damn near 40 takedowns against, and just take into consideration that Merab is just unfair with his gas tank. Like, no one can keep up with that. And look at how much better Yan did than O'Malley. It is clear that Yan is an elite grappler. One of the best grapplers at bantamweight. I think he is maybe the most underrated grappler in the UFC because, again, people still don't really talk about Petr Yan when it comes to his grappling, but he's the definition of elite on the feet and on the ground. Bo Nickel. Where would I put Bo Nickel? I'm going to put Bo Nickel in the can shoot a takedown once every few years tier. Now, I'm not actually saying that Bo Nickel is only capable of shooting a takedown once every few years, but this tier represents someone that is pretty one-dimensional, but every now and then they can do something in the other martial art. Meaning, for Bo, he's a predominant grappler that every once in a while can land a jab to the body and maybe an overhand, right? But really, he's got a extremely novice skill set on the feet, where if you just make it a little bit of a scrappy, not so clean fight, he's going to have some serious issues. All right. And also take into consideration that he had a razor close ole type of striking match with Paul body kick only Craig. if you are having a chess match style of pace on the feet with Paul only throwing one technique in the entire fight, which is a body kick, Craig, I cannot consider you someone that has striking. Raul Rosas Jr., I'm going to say one-dimensional. You know, to be honest, I'm going to say Bo Nickel is in the same tier as Raul Rosas Jr. Rosas has actually gotten a KO in the UFC. Bo hasn't. And if Bo is going to a razor-close decision with Paul Craig and it's striking only, like, that's not the best look, dude. Sharon Magomedov, one-dimensional. Great striker, of course, but, you know, he's not going to show any grappling. Merab. At this point, I'm going to say B- well-rounded. I think Merab's striking has improved enough for me to put him in the B- well-rounded, and he implements it enough. I mean, listen, against Petr Yan, he was implementing it a whole lot. He threw 400 strikes in that fight. Didn't land 400, but threw 400. Was able to go out there and land good combinations against O'Malley, was able to land good combinations against Umar Nurmagomedov. He may not have the prettiest striking, but you know what? He's not cooked on the feet. Like, he's actually able to do all right on the feet. Ilia Topuria, I'm right off the bat putting him no lower than well-rounded, right? Because he's got elite striking, 100%. I mean, listen, we don't even have to discuss that. He's probably got the best boxing in the UFC. But his grappling, it's good. It's great. Is it elite? Well, let's see. He did reverse a takedown from Charles Oliveira, moved into side control, and then put Charles Oliveira into crucifix position, which is extremely impressive. He then stuffed Charles's second takedown shortly after. Against Josh Emmett, he held him on the ground when he dropped Josh Emmett, and he was able to beat him up, keep him on the ground. He was able to submit Bryce Mitchell, which is very impressive. You know, everyone talks about him getting taken down, but listen, you can be considered an elite grappler if you've had a moment in your career where you've been taken down. I mean, Makhachev was taken down against Thiago Moises, but we consider him an elite grappler, right? He submitted Bryce. Granted, Bryce was dropped. He did really well against Yusuf Salal on the ground. He took down Max Holloway pretty easily. I don't know. I don't know if he's shown us enough grappling for me to consider his grappling to be elite at the moment. I think, and that's sort of a problem with Ilia Topuria. It's that he's so dominant on the feet. Like, we will rarely ever see him grapple. And for that reason, it's just kind of unfortunate that we may never see the full extent of what Ilia Topuria can do offensively on the ground. Or even defensively yet, because he knocks people out so quickly, he doesn't even give them a chance to shoot 3-4 takedowns on him, right? You know what? I'm going to err on the side of I kind of think he is, all right? Like, from the little that we've seen, it's been dominant. Like, it's been really impressive. Putting Oliveira into crucifix is nothing short of extremely impressive. His grappling has looked pretty fucking good. But you could make the argument that he has a little bit of that wrestler's, grappler's aura from coming into the UFC. And I am not really putting too much into consideration, but maybe he has a little bit of that mystique nonetheless, and that's also what's making me put him here. But yeah, I wouldn't be upset if you put him in the well-rounded tier. For example, if he fought Arman Sarukian and he were to stuff the takedowns pretty effortlessly, or maybe get taken down but reverse the position and ends up out-grappling Arman, like, well, yeah, of course you put him in the elite grappler tier. But yeah, I'm going to put him here nonetheless, even if it's just a bit of an assumption. I wouldn't be upset if you put him in the well-rounded tier, just because, again, he's not really proved that much. But either way. Ian Gary. I'm going to put Ian Gary in the well-rounded tier. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I'm going to put Thompson has a few tricks up his sleeve. Thompson has couple of noogie punches on his side, man. No. I'm going to say one-dimensional, but not totally cooked. Like, listen, if you take down Stephen Thompson, he's kind of like McGregor, where it may be tough to get him down. He's got good initial takedown defense. But once you get him there, you're going to be able to keep him there. And sure, he can get up to his feet every once in a while, but Stephen Thompson's never going to win grappling exchanges, really. Let's see. Grant Dawson. Where would I put Grant Dawson? I'm going to say Dawson's in the can shoot a takedown once every few years tier. Obviously, Dawson is a phenomenal grappler, but like, his equivalent to shooting a takedown once every 2 years is landing like a combination on the feet. Like, Dawson's got more on the feet than McGregor's got offensively on the ground. So yeah, I'm going to put him slightly higher than McGregor. Marvin Vettori, I'm going to put him in the mid-well-rounded tier. He's kind of perfectly well-rounded, if that makes sense. Like 50-50. 50 grappling, 50 striking. Tai Tuivasa absolutely cooked. When you have Marcin Tybura looking like Gordon Ryan or Prime Habib, and Marcin Tybura is no slouch on the ground, by the way. Marcin Tybura is actually kind of decent on the ground. But when you have Tybura looking like the greatest grappler to ever walk the face of the earth, you're cooked. And Tybura, again, he's a finisher on the ground, but still, man, Tai Tuivasa, he's getting submitted by Alexander the Striker Volkov, who I'm going to put has a few tricks up his sleeve, right? When you're making Alexander Volkov look like Gordon Ryan, you're absolutely cooked on the ground. Volkov, I just added him to the tier list. Even though Volkov is going to be striking 95% of the time, he submitted Tai Tuivasa, right? One of those big man chokes. I forget the one. Maybe it was an Ezekiel choke. And then he was able to take Cyril Gane down and control Gane, which is the definition of he's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve. Now, as far as striking goes, great kicking game, pretty good boxing, very good striker, but he's got a couple of tricks. He can pull them out. He can pull them out offensively. So I wouldn't say he's well-rounded, really, but I would say, he can do some things on the ground. Adesanya. I'm going to say Adesanya is one-dimensional, but not cooked in the other. Okay? Okay, to be honest, I don't even know if I can leave Dawson in here. I don't know if I can leave Dawson in here, guys. I don't know, man. Dawson's pretty one-dimensional, bro. Nah, fuck it. Dawson's one-dimensional, man. I can't have Dawson above Adesanya. Okay? Adesanya had one moment in his entire career where he did something offensively on the ground, and that was reversing Alex Pereira's takedown in midair, getting control over Pereira and beating him up, right? But you got to have at least two moments for me to put you a little higher. You got to have at least two. And outside of that, listen, Adesanya has shown good takedown defense. He's not totally cooked on the ground. It's not like you take him down and you get him out of there. I mean, Whitaker couldn't do shit to him. So Adesanya, if he's fighting someone that's really dangerous, like Khamzat, Dricus, it's problems once it hits the mat, right? But still, if he's fighting people that are just decent grapplers like Blachowicz and Whitaker, he's fine. Like, he'll survive. He's not going to get totally trashed. So defensively, Adesanya is not absolutely cooked. He can survive. He can get up to his feet every once in a while. He's got good takedown defense, but offensively, he's got nothing, right? Great striking game, good kickboxing, but offensively, nothing. Defensively, he's okay, but, it's not elite. He's not an elite defensive grappler. He's got a good sprawl, good takedown defense, but when it hits the mat, he's not that good. But yeah, Adesanya, one-dimensional. Again, I'm going to put him up there with Sean O'Malley. Decent takedown defense, man, right? But once it hits the mat, they're getting out-grappled. They're getting beat there, and they've got nothing offensively. So, MVP. I'm going to say MVP is very one-dimensional, but not totally cooked. I mean, Kevin Holland couldn't finish him on the ground, got him down. Ian Gary couldn't finish him on the ground, got him down. Bilal Muhammad. I'm going to say Bilal Muhammad's well-rounded. Like, he's above B- well-rounded, man. When you are having extremely close striking rounds with Jack Della Maddalena and you are winning a round off of JDM on the feet, I mean, you got to be in this tier. Bilal Muhammad is able to outstrike Vicente Luque. He's able to TKO Sean Brady. He was able to outstrike Gilbert Burns. And what was he doing in the Leon Edwards fight? He was pushing Leon Edwards back with good striking. He has shown a lot of decent striking. A lot of decent striking. Even though he lost to JDM, he was in there. He was hanging tough. He was landing his own combinations, getting outstruck, but again, we would consider Jack Della Maddalena an elite striker. Bilal's not an elite striker, but he's a pretty good striker. I think he is. He's got great kicking, decent boxing. It has improved. And his grappling, I would say he's got elite wrestling. He's got close to elite grappling. So, yeah, Bilal, very well-rounded. Even though a lot of people, they just look at Bilal, they look at the photo, they just hear the name and they're like, grappler. But he's shown us a lot of good striking, okay? And if you're that competitive with JDM, even though he got clearly beat on the feet by JDM, but if you're hanging in there with JDM on the feet, you got to be pretty fucking good, okay? Shavkat Rakhmonov, I'm going to put Shavkat in the well-rounded tier as well. Shavkat has shown us a lot of good grappling. You know, he may not have the best wrestling, but he's got a really good submission game. I wouldn't necessarily consider it elite yet, nor would I consider his striking elite yet. But he's got a really good ground game, and he's got really good striking. I mean, he was able to outstrike Ian Gary, which is very impressive, given what Ian Gary just did to Carlos Prates. That's really impressive shit. And he was able to outstrike Jeff Neal and then submit him. Shavkat Rakhmonov is the definition of well-rounded, but I'm not ready to say he's elite on the ground. And I'm not ready to necessarily say he's elite on the feet. Umar Nurmagomedov, another super well-rounded fighter. Good striking, schooling Corey Sandhagen on the feet. I mean, that in and of itself is very impressive. Great kicking game, good boxing, won the early rounds against Merab with the boxing, with the kicks as well. Very impressive. And we know he's got phenomenal grappling, right? You could make the argument that he's elite on the feet, but to be honest, I feel like we just need to see a little bit more, okay? Like, winning against Sandhagen on the feet, that's very impressive. You know what? I would consider him to be elite on the feet, but it's actually the grappling, and this is funny because he's a Nurmagomedov, but it's actually the grappling that I kind of need to see him prove more when it comes to fighting high-level fighters. You know what? I'm actually going to say Umar is an elite grappler, okay? I think Corey Sandhagen's grappling defense has improved enough. And if you also take into consideration all of the beakers and test tubes training that Sandhagen did leading up to that Umar fight, just because Corey shut it down doesn't necessarily mean Umar's not elite. But I kind of think that Umar is closer to elite in both than all of the guys in this tier. Like, Charles has some serious problems in his striking. Corey, I don't think he has a lot of serious issues, but he's just not dominant enough in any one realm for me to consider him truly elite. Like, I think he's closer to elite on the feet than he is on the ground, but Umar, just with the eye test, he looks pretty fucking elite, even though, again, I kind of need to see him prove a little bit more. I'm gonna put him up there, man. Outstriking Corey Sandhagen is very impressive, dude. That is extremely impressive. So I'm gonna put him up there. I think he's pretty elite on the ground and on the feet, just with the eye test, and he has shown us a good amount of grappling, granted against fighters that aren't that great, but still. Nah, but then again, Charles Oliveira in the striking would look pretty elite against people that aren't that great as well, right? Like, you put Charles against the number 25 ranked lightweight, he's looking like a phenom on the feet. So I think we need to pump the brakes with Umar just because, again, when it comes to the grappling, he's definitely looked impressive. I just need to see him look impressive against another elite fighter. Like, Volk has looked impressive in the grappling against Ortega, Makhachev even, defensively, right? Or Petr Yan has looked impressive in the grappling against Aljo, defensively against Merab. And I think that putting Oliveira in crucifix is crazy. Ilia Topuria is maybe the only stretch because he hasn't proven it as much as you may think, but still, or as much as you may want him to prove it, but he's proven it more than Umar, okay? So I'm going to put Umar here. If he goes out there and out-grapples Mario Batista, for example, like if he takes down Mario Batista and controls him and shit, I'm putting him up here. Yuri, I'm going to put Yuri in the can shoot a takedown once every few years. Yuri was able to get down Pereira in that first fight. We've seen Yuri do his thing against Dominic Reyes. I think he got knocked out on the ground against Dominic Reyes, though. That's actually not the best argument. But, Yuri was surviving against Glover. He survived here and there. He submitted Glover. You know what? That's maybe not enough for me to say he's got a few tricks up his sleeve, but if you submit Glover, you can't be in the one-dimensional as fuck tier, okay? I know it was a war. I know it was a blur for both guys in that fifth round, but still. Yuri has shot a takedown against Pereira. He can pull it out against very one-dimensional strikers, and he hung in there against Glover. He's pretty one-dimensional, but Yuri, every couple of years, can do something on the ground. JDM, I'm going to say JDM has a few tricks up his sleeve as well, man. Like, JDM, everyone says he's got great grappling, man. He's got great grappling. Like, good defensive grappling, yes. Offensively, what the fuck is JDM doing offensively on the ground? When is Jack Della Maddalena ever shooting takedowns? He's not. Of course, if you're one of these, nitty-gritty jiu-jitsu guys and you're watching JDM's fights really slowly, half speed, then you're noticing, he's got some crafty moves, man. He's got some moments where he's always fighting hands here and he's moving the foot over. Yeah, but let's be honest. He's a boxer. He's got good teeps to the body. He's a really elite striker. But as far as I'm concerned, the talk of JDM being a great grappler is all he said, she said. But what have you proven? Now, the one really impressive thing he did against Gilbert Burns was reverse a position, right? That was really impressive. But outside of that, it's really just takedown defense. And again, like, Gilbert Burns is not that great offensively on the ground. A lot of people can survive against Gilbert Burns on the ground. Just because JDM didn't get finished doesn't mean he's like some wizard on the ground. I mean, Wonderboy Thompson didn't get finished or was totally chilling when Gilbert Burns was controlling him. So, again, really, just think about it. We know that he's got good ground game. We know that he's pretty good. But he's not really showing it, man. He's not really showing it. And it's like every moment that we can think of JDM grappling in his UFC career, it's getting taken down by Basso Hoffus or pulling guillotines and getting taken down because of that. That's low IQ shit. That's not a good look. You can't say, oh, the Basso Hoffus fight proves he's a great grappler. A lot of people are just talking about JDM's grappling, and I'm assuming that he's got good grappling because he trains with Craig Jones, but that's kind of what it is. I feel like he's got the Craig Jones aura. So, I don't know, man. I'm not ready to say he's like B- well-rounded. I'm sorry. He's just not shown us enough offensive grappling. And he's not even shown us enough phenomenal defensive grappling. Like, again, not getting submitted by Gilbert Burns is not really a flex. Gilbert Burns doesn't finish anyone on the ground. So, I'm not sitting here and telling you that JDM's a bad grappler. I'm just saying he's not shown it a lot. Islam Makhachev. I'm going to put Makhachev in the B- well-rounded. Listen, he's obviously an elite grappler. I don't know if I would consider him an elite striker. Just messing around, guys. Makhachev is, in my opinion, and this might come as a hot take, I think he is an elite striker. I mean, listen, what do you need to prove if you're Islam Makhachev to be up there with Yan and Volk? Like, yeah, is Makhachev going to show us as impressive striking as Yan or Volk? Not necessarily, but Volk is not going to show us as impressive grappling as Makhachev is, right? I think that Makhachev striking, he's going out there and he's schooling Oliveira on the feet, hardly getting touched, making Oliveira look a little bit silly. And yeah, there are moments where he looks like a bit of a sloppy guy on the feet, but he outstrikes Oliveira. If you're just talking about Oliveira, you're saying he's a good striker. Maybe not elite, but he's a good and dangerous striker. Makhachev schooled him, dropped him, hardly got hit. Against Volkanovski in the first fight, Makhachev outstruck Volk in many moments. Second and third round, where Volk was able to keep it on the feet, you can make the argument that Makhachev was outstriking Volk. And I think it's becoming a bit of a cop-out to say it's the threat of the takedown only. Like, yeah, the threat of the takedown definitely plays a part, but you know, with the threat of the takedown, Oliveira's striking isn't as impressive as Makhachev's. With the threat of the takedown, Arman Tsarukyan's striking isn't as impressive as Makhachev's. There are other wrestlers that have threats of takedowns, and their striking is not as impressive as Makhachev's. Makhachev in the clinch, one of the best strikers in MMA right now. He's got some of the best clinch knees in mixed martial arts. He's got really solid boxing and counter skills. Okay, look at all the times he was countering Dustin Poirier and spinning his head back. He was outstriking Dustin Poirier in moments, and he was doing things on the feet against Poirier and Volk that I do not think Arman Tsarukyan would be able to do, because his striking's not that good. Makhachev also has a great kicking game. Good head kicks, good body kicks, great knees, solid boxing counters. Like, yeah, he's had moments where he sort of trips over his feet, and his boxing footwork doesn't look that crisp compared to Ilya. But ultimately, I think he kind of has, against elite fighters, won enough moments for me to say, you know what, this dude is pretty elite on the feet. Okay? Because again, the only argument against that, it's the threat of the takedown. Well, listen, man, I don't think that Bilal Muhammad with his threats of takedowns are looking as impressive, or And you can't even say that, well, that's because Bilal is fighting, other great grapplers. Like, dude, Islam Makhachev is fighting Oliveira. He's fighting Volk. Like, he's fighting solid grapplers as well. It's not like, oh, it's the threat of the takedown and he's schooling Dan Hooker on the feet. Dan Hooker's got no grappling. He's fighting Charles Oliveira. So this threat of the takedown against who? Another elite grappler? At some point, I think that even if Makhachev doesn't have the best striking in the world, I think you consider him elite. Now, there are different levels to elite, but I do think Makhachev's striking is proven enough. He's got good counters, boxing, kicks, knees. He's doing elite shit. And on the ground, one of the best grapplers, if not the best grappler. Khamzat Chimaev. I'm going to say Khamzat Chimaev is B- well-rounded. Like, I'm not going to put him up there with Sandhagen, with Arman, because I think Arman, like Khamzat, predominant grapplers, I think Arman has shown more impressive striking. But I am going to say Khamzat's well-rounded. Even though his striking is not something that's going to blow you away, he's able to knock out Gerald Meerschaert. He was able to drop Gilbert Burns with a jab. Like, early on in fights, this guy has serious threat on the feet. And when he's forced to trade with prime Gilbert Burns, who is no slouch on the feet, prime Gilbert Burns dropped Kamaru Usman. Prime Gilbert Burns schooled Tyron Woodley on the feet. He was able to go tit for tat with Gilbert Burns. Had him on the fence in the third round, dropped him in the first round. I think his striking is proven enough to be B- well-rounded, but just maybe not proven enough to be up there with a guy as well-rounded as Sandhagen. Dricus du Plessis. I'm going to say Dricus du Plessis is in the well-rounded tier. Paul Craig. I'm going to put Paul Craig in the one-dimensional but not totally cooked. I mean, listen, Paul Craig, I think his striking's kind of underrated. But let's be honest, he's kind of cooked every time he's on the feet. Unless it's against another guy that's in the one-dimensional area, like Bo, he's getting finished. I'm going to put Pantoja in the well-rounded tier, man. He kind of dropped Kaya Sukuda and fucked him up with body kicks. Against Brandon Moreno, yeah, he got schooled on the feet, fair enough. He's not an elite striker. But he dropped Moreno a couple of times. Like, that's no joke. He's able to hang in there with elite strikers at flyweight and not just get totally embarrassed or look like he's on the verge of getting finished every single time. He's an elite grappler, but this is not a are you an elite grappler tier list. His striking is not elite, but I would say his striking is pretty solid. Amir Albazi, mid well-rounded. Amir Albazi is probably one of the most well-rounded fighters to ever walk the earth, to be honest, but he's kind of just mid everywhere. And I know he's a flyweight. Flyweights that are ranked can't be that mid, but you sort of get my point. Who else we got? Joaquin Buckley. I'm going to say Joaquin Buckley is B- well-rounded. He'll shoot takedowns. He's got decent ground and pound. He's actually won a couple of fights with his grappling. He TKO'd Vicente Luque on the ground. He was able to take down and control Nursultan Ruziboyev and beat him up as well. But I don't think his grappling has been shown enough and has been useful enough in his career for me to put him in the same tier as a guy like Sandhagen, for example. So I would say he's B- well-rounded. I would consider him pretty well-rounded, but just not on the same level as some of these other guys. Tatsudo Taida. Taida's got a few tricks up his sleeve, right? His striking did look improved against Park, for sure. There was a time where I would say Taida is cooked on the feet. Like, his striking used to look like shit, but now has a few tricks up his sleeve. He's got a couple tricks on the feet, man. He's got a couple of 1-2s, but outside of that, it's 95% jiu-jitsu and wrestling from Tatsudo Taida. Elite grappler. Gon. I'm going to say Gon can shoot a takedown once every few years kind of fighter. Like, Gon is pretty one-dimensional, but he did take down Ngannou multiple times before the casuals jump in and say, no, it was Ngannou that took him down. Yeah. Did you even watch the fight? I know Ngannou took him down as well, but Gon took down Ngannou in the 5th round. Okay? That's kind of the point that I'm making. Gon has had a submission in the UFC, so once in a blue moon, Gon will do something on the ground. Patty the Batty, lad. I'm going to put Patty the Batty in. It has a few tricks up his sleeve, lad. Right? Patty has the new, string bean special in regards to his flying head kick, and he's got a good sweep piece special. He's got a good jab now, but those are the couple of tricks in his striking game. Outside of that, outside of a couple of techniques on the feet, and again, you could say, well, nobody schooled Tony and dropped it's Tony. Okay, if your example to argue against Patty having, more than a few tricks up his sleeve, if your argument against that is, well, he schooled Tony, and that's more than just having a couple of tricks, it's old man Tony Ferguson. Leon. I'm going to say Leon is B- well-rounded. Okay? Like, listen, he was able to out-grapple Colby Covington in moments. He took Kamaru Usman's back. He's got good takedown defense. If your argument against that is he got out-grappled by Bilal and Sean Brady, first off, Sean Brady is an elite grappler, and Bilal Muhammad is an elite grappler too. But it's not like Usman dominated him that much in the grappling, and Colby Covington actually got out-grappled by Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards has shown pretty good grappling throughout his career. I mean, think about it. He out-grappled RDA. He out-grappled Gunnar Nelson. He's obviously a really good striker. I wouldn't consider Leon Edwards an elite striker, but I'd say he's a very good striker. But I wouldn't say he's a very good grappler, but his grappling is good enough to be, in the B- well-rounded tier. I think that Leon Edwards, if you're going to use recency bias, you'd say that's not true. But again, who's he really getting fucked up on the ground against? The best grapplers in welterweight history, okay? Kamaru, I'm going to say Usman is well-rounded. I know Usman kind of looked like shit in his last fight on the feet. His striking looked terrible in his last fight, to be fair. But if you look at his whole career, Kamaru Usman has had pretty decent striking. Whitaker, I'm going to say B- well-rounded. Whitaker's got phenomenal takedowns, but he has no ability to control people. He's got no ability to hurt anyone or submit anyone on the ground. Takedown defense is pretty good, but again, it's like Whitaker, 95% of his game is karate blitz striking. Every now and then he'll shoot a takedown, but he does nothing with it. And he doesn't shoot them that often. But I'm going to say B- well-rounded. Vyacheslav Borshev, totally cooked on the ground. Absolutely as one-dimensional as you could possibly get. Sitting duck on the ground. Good striker. The opposite of Vyacheslav, totally cooked on the feet. Jordan Levitt, absolutely cooked on the feet. Chase Hooper, I'm going to say Chase Hooper has a few tricks up his sleeve. We also have Anthony Hernandez. I'd say Hernandez has a few tricks up his sleeve on the feet, right? He's tough, gritty, can put the pace on you on the feet, can do a couple of things, can land a couple of big elbows. But, you know, he's not someone that's going to strike that often. He's, for the most part, a heavy pressure wrestler with phenomenal ground and pound, great submissions. One of the best grapplers in the sport, but striking, not good enough for me to put him in B- well-rounded. Saidnur Magomedov has a few tricks up his sleeve. He's sort of like the hangman of 135. Predominantly a striker, but he can snatch up a submission. Mario Batista, B- well-rounded. Brandon Moreno. I'm going to put Brandon Moreno in the well-rounded tier. He's had enough moments like submitting Davidson Figueiredo, out-scrambling Davidson Figueiredo back in the day. He's had a bunch of finishes on the ground as well. Good takedown defense, great jiu-jitsu, and elite striking. So Brandon Moreno, very well-rounded. I'm just not ready to say he's an elite grappler. Tom Aspinall, if we're really just judging him for heavyweight-only standards, I would say, yeah, he's pretty elite. In the world of heavyweights, Tom Aspinall is an elite striker, and he's an elite grappler. Okay, so fuck it. I'll say Aspinall's elite. But again, well-rounded. Has he shown enough grappling? Well, he submitted Volkov and took him down easily. He easily submitted, what's his name? Andrei Arlovsky in 5 seconds. So a 5-second submission. I think that the dominance on the ground makes up for the lack of time that Aspinall has spent on the ground, right? The dominance. So I'm going to say he's elite for heavyweight. But anyway, guys, that is it for the tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.